third edition of the Nigeria's Construction Industry Hall of Fame lecture held recently brought to the fore the importance of engineering to nation's economic prosperity. Discussants were unanimous. We have a report. This is Inside Business Africa, Africa's business news and information leader. Hello, a very good day to you and thanks for joining us. My name is Kenneth Odushola Stevenson and this is Inside Business Africa, Africa's business news and information leader. Today's edition of the program is quite loaded because we'll be talking about a very important event that took place recently in Lagos. This event comes up every 2 years and every year for the third edition coming, it has been awesome. Professionals in the built environment gathered at the Sheraton Hotels in Lagos to discuss the issue of engineering and economic prosperity. We'll talk about all that when we come back right after this commercial break. Welcome back. You're still Inside Business Africa, Africa's business news and information leader. Thanks for staying with us. Later on the program, we'll be talking about outstanding projects and the Leaders Award coming up in Lagos on the 27th of November. 1004 estates and another organization has been nominated for the facility management category. We'll talk with the managing director later on, but for now, the Construction and Engineering Digest has put together this important event, the Nigeria's Construction Industry Hall of Fame, the third edition in the series. Professionals in the industry who gathered at the Sheraton Hotels and Towers in Lagos discussed the issue of engineering and economic prosperity and believing that, and they were also unanimous in the fact that the nations that wants to grow must develop the engineering capabilities. Here's a report from that event. A consulting engineer, Engineer Oti Sanyenji, has said that for the country to become industrialized, engineering innovations must be improved and acted upon by the government. Anyenji, who spoke on engineering and economic prosperity at the third Nigeria's Construction Industry Hall of Fame induction ceremony in Lagos, said engineering stipulations and innovation needed to be objectively and economically determined in implementing both the Vision 2020 or its equivalent and the National Integrated Infrastructure Master Plan. Economic development is based on industrialization, and the inputs for development of infrastructure, agriculture, environmental protection, and provision of services are provided by industrialization, Engineer Oti said. He also added that the country also needed capabilities and skills to identify possible sources of related technologies, such as design and engineering firms, small and medium-sized enterprises, and research and development institutes, among others.
Now, engineering is the application of mathematics, empirical evidence, scientific, economic, social, management, and practical knowledge in a safe, healthy, economical, and environmentally sustainable manner to invent, design, build, operate, maintain, research, and improve structures, machines, tools, systems, components, materials, facilities, and processes. All the outputs or deliverables from economic development have to be produced. And thus, the question of industrialization, which is defined as the process in which a society or country transforms itself from a primarily agricultural society into one based on the manufacturing of goods and services. This process is most successfully and sustainably realized by starting from development of the capacity to produce machines that make machines.
18 distinguished professionals from the built environment sector, including engineers, architects, surveyors, builders, and estate surveyors and valuers, were inducted into the Nigeria's Construction Industry Hall of Fame at the well-attended event in Lagos. Besides, 3 corporate organizations, including OT Engineering Limited, Advanced Concrete Technologies Limited, and Amog Engineering Limited, were also inducted at the event put together by Century 21 Systems Communications Limited, publishers of Construction and Engineering Digest CED magazine. Among the individuals honored and inducted into the Hall of Fame were Engineer Dr. Joseph Folayan, Engineer Lumuyiwa Ajibola, Engineer Kashim Ali, Engineer Charles Akidayomi, Alabo Dagogo Fubara, Engineer Ayo Akidende, Architect Jerry Ibukwe, Engineer George Okoroma, and Surveyor Joseph Agbinla. Others are Surveyor Dr. Bosun Ayinde, Engineer John Okodiya, Engineer Aniete Umana, Builder Tunde Lasabi, Estate Surveyor Chudi Ubosi, Engineer Nuruddin Rafindadi, Estate Surveyor Abdullahi Sanin, and Engineer Samson Ivovi. In his welcome address at the event, the publisher of CED magazine, Mr. Kenneth Odishola Stevenson, noted that many professionals in the built environment, including inductees, have in no small measures pulled the resources together, their intellectual and professional capabilities to build infrastructure across the country, from road, housing, oil and gas, aviation and maritime to space technology, among others. Above all, he says that they have all made remarkable contribution to nation building by developing building enterprises that are giving opportunities and space to young professionals to engage their talent.
The non-linear nature of the flow of knowledge between fundamental research and engineering application, the highly interdisciplinary nature of new technologies, and the impact of cyber infrastructure demand new paradigms in engineering practice, research, and development. The discussions at the 2015 Nigeria's Construction Industry Hall of Fame will do justice to these debates. For us, the drivers of the Nigeria's Construction Industry Hall of Fame, we shall continue to follow the developments in our national lives and bring to the fore the importance of building homegrown capacity and encouraging the locals. Thank you, and God bless you.
Before we get to that,
In a discussion on the theme Engineering and Economic Prosperity of Nations, guest speakers and chairman of Otis Engineering Limited, Otis Engineering, an engineer, emphasized that economic development of any nation is based on industrialization. He further said that for the country to industrialize, it has to start from machine tools production to move to agricultural tools such as tractors, trailers, and to jumpstart the economy. ING explained that there are a lot of resources in the country that needs to be harnessed rather than depending on importation of goods that will lead to economic prosperity of the nation and create jobs for the teeming youth that are faced with unemployment challenges.
If we take agricultural tools and machinery, that's an example, you will see that there are hand tools used in agriculture that ought to be made by artisans. These are also engineering personnel, craftsmen and technicians and so on. Simple equipment and machinery whose manufacture requires standard modern technology. Tractors and trailers, these are some of the things you need for agriculture. Now, you take the one we had attempted, auto vehicle assembly.
The guest speaker, Engineer Otis, at the event also said that for engineering and other professionals to develop, the government must have to be involved. According to him, the nation needs to drive and get the government to be interested in innovation process.
Economic development, as I said earlier, is based on, but while electric power requires manufactured machines, equipment and materials to operate, industries need electric power to function. So you have the chicken or egg situation, which, of course, policymakers need to get right for things to move in the right direction. Because quite often we say, if you fix power, then everything else is in order. It is not quite so. Because for a big country like us, if you want to provide adequate electric power, even if it is 40,000 megawatts, which is projected in the Vision 2020, we tend not to imagine what quantum of work and investments will be needed to achieve that. The NIPP which the country had done from 2005 till now, you can remove maybe about 3 years which was wasted. So maybe about 7 years with 10 power stations. We got about 4,700 megawatts out of that. And if you add it to what exists, maybe we'll just be hovering around 9,000 megawatts if we continue to maintain what we have. So if you want to go to 40,000 megawatts, you need to do projects that will give you 31,000 megawatts. And to imagine what that would mean, if you take like, that's 500 megawatts. So to get 30,000, you will need about 60 of that type of power plant. To get that quantity, if you are doing 1,000 megawatts, you will need about 30 of that. Now, you need 10 in 7 years. But it will be better. I mean, if there is better planning, there is confidence in professionals or experts, and they are allowed to perform in areas of their competence, it could be faster. Because like I said earlier, we just threw 3 years away. Because experts will not be allowed to do what they have to do. And the weather on the wild goods case that really brought about the waste of 3 years. Meanwhile, the typical gas turbine plant, you need perhaps 36 months from conception to realization, assuming that everything is done when it's supposed to be done. So it is a lot of work that you need to do. But the problem then is when you have such a massive deficit to close, the gap to close within a short time, then you need to look at what we are going to spend on such a massive program. And reason as well, it's not better that these things we are going to buy, the quantum of which, the value will be such that they can build the factories to make those kinds of things for you. Not just for that project, but for other projects over this lifetime. You need to take that critical decision as policy maker, and then begin to do the things there because you have more control, and it is likely that you are going to appreciate the dimensions of economic development in Nigeria. We look at what could industrialization be like. We see motor cars, ships, boilers, gas turbines, electric motors and equipment, construction machinery, pumps and compressors, balls and roller bearings, textile machinery, and so on and so forth. We don't even like that. After all, we are making what do you call these things that drones now. And there was a time we were assembling Donia in Nigeria. And so on and so forth. Metal cutlery, furniture, which, I mean, a lot of it is just being imported. Watches and clocks, agricultural machinery, railroad equipment, and so on and so forth. These are some of the things that we need to produce. There are about 30 are listed here, but it's not exhaustive of the things. Even the president himself was, or the CBN, talking about toothpicks and some other consumables that we are importing. And the issue is to begin to make them here. And if, for example, you want to make the toothpicks, you have to get the machinery that is used for making such. But as I said much earlier, that very many countries that have gone through this journey, what they try to do is to start from machine tools, from the machines that have the capacity to make other machines. And then you will be able to at least determine what it is that you can make and what is absolutely necessary for you to source from elsewhere. If we take agricultural tools and machinery, that's an example, you will see that there are hand tools used in agriculture that ought to be made by artisans. These are also engineering personnel, I mean craftsmen and technicians and so on. Simple equipment and machinery whose manufacture requires standard modern technology. Tractors and trailers, these are some of the things you need for agriculture. Now, you take the one we had attempted, auto vehicle assembly. The smallest car that has been made here is the Peugeot 106. And that Peugeot 106 has about 2,500 major assembly parts with some 20,000 pieces. You have to bother about how these things are to be done. In India, for example, they have over 3,000 companies that make automotive components. And then they have a few number of firms that are into assembly. Of course, that is a technique. It's a technique of creating volume through model rationalization. And that is why, if you go to a place like the United States, there are 3 major assemblers for vehicles, for thousands and thousands of those who make components. In Nigeria, is the opposite. You know, the assemblers are more in number than the people who make components. And that distorts the business. The government has to look into it and put order into such. These are activities that it's not only just engineers, but I mean, everybody will be carried along by engineers in realizing the distance. Of course, there are boilers and tanks and containers, but when you say you want to build power plants, there are steel plants also. Take gas or some coal or whatever, and boil water, and make steam, and make it turn a turbine, steam turbine, and produce electricity. Our journey to electric production adequate, reliable electricity cannot be complete if we do not begin to make some of these things. I recall that when we were negotiating for the NIDP, 18 turbines from GE, General Electric, all the people, members of the team that came for that negotiation here came from Egypt. Why? They say that the regional office. And because of that, we now say, if people from Egypt can come to carry out this negotiation, why not Nigerians also? And so we had to advise the minister that it has to trust that even with this transaction, that Nigeria should get something coming in out of it. And that's how the repair shop, yes, the repair shop came on. First in Port Harcourt, then Calabar. But we need to do more because we also find that our people don't ask. And foreigners, especially Europeans and Americans, they are good in observing laws. If there is a law, they follow it. If you request that this is how you want things to be done, they follow that. But the issue is that we don't follow. Now, agriculture, if we are looking at what engineering can do in agriculture, we look at the character of the agricultural sector, livestock production, fishery, forestry, food processing, heights and skill, crop production, poultry, grains, agro-allied industries. If we harness all this, given what we have in Nigeria, certainly there will be more earnings from this than oil. But, I mean, we don't do anything with our heights and skill. But I mean, like me and all of us, we love to buy shoes from anywhere. But we have very good leather that we should be thinking of industrializing and making these products here, handbags, beautiful designer handbags, and so on. If we look at poultry, incubating, feeding, slaughtering, refrigerating, transportation, these are all engineering processes. Even down to eggs production. Now, the most important thing also for our policymakers is that in agriculture, in agro-allied industries are very important for job creation. Because in any country that is making some good progress, the agro-allied industry should be the largest number of factories that will be in such a country. But here, it's really real, virtually, because we are not into processing of agricultural produce. So far,
the chairman of the occasion, Engineer Ibikunle Ogunbayo, said without viable construction industry, the economy of any nation is not going to develop. He added that infrastructural provision is very important to the development of the country.
There's a lot that can be said about the lack of development of the infrastructure in Nigeria. There's a lot that can be said about the multiplier effect of the construction industry to the entire economy. But I'm sure that our guest speaker, our incoming president of the Nigerian Center of Engineering, Engineer Otis Ayeji, he will touch on that. But just suffice to say that without a viable construction industry, the economy of any nation is not going to develop.
A discussant and one of the inductees, Ambassador Architect Jerry Ogwukwe, noted that one of the major problems confronting the country centers on discipline and corruption. He emphasized that Nigerians must imbibe discipline and call down corruption. Other special discussants, including Town Planner Bumi Ajayi, past president of the Nigerian Institute of Town Planner, and Surveyor Joseph Agbinla, immediate past Surveyor General of Lagos State, all agreed that with more emphasis on engineering and technology-based education, Nigeria will definitely benefit from the initiative.
And we are talking of how do we grow from there. If we don't employ those unemployed youth, I wonder what will happen in the next few years. Yesterday I read the news, even the news report today, that they were shouting on the Senate President was TTT. That is the beginning of what we expect in times to come.
One of our major problems border on discipline and corruption. Permit me to still talk about corruption, because each time we say corruption, because of the change we have now, everybody thinks it's an old song. I don't think so, because the presenter talked about Ajaokuta still today. This is, if we check the amount of money that we have sunk into Ajaokuta, I think we would have gone a lot more than even what the Singaporeans have gone.
Can anybody in real sense go and borrow money to start an industry? This country with those interest and with those interest rates, even the exchange rate. Because you still have to buy some equipment and machineries and abroad with those exchange rates, with those interest rates, and you're not going to go crazy. I don't know how you do it. And therefore, our banks are not thinking right. They're not thinking the way we're thinking. They're not thinking about production. And that's why they don't want somebody who's going to lend you money, go and import, start 3 months to return their money, and they can work out of it. They're not thinking of something that what we're going to do that will last 3 years.
It is important for professionals to emphasize the need to put square peg in square holes. We must be the change we want to see, Architect Ogwukwe emphasized and stressed. Publishers of CED magazine, Mr. Kenneth Odishola Stevenson, noted that if technology and knowledge form the basis for meaningful economic development, given that globalization is radically accelerating the pace of change and raising the long-term stakes, it is clear that success in knowledge-based economy depends largely on the capabilities of people who are credentialed in meaningful and consistent ways.
The discussant at the 2015 Nigeria's Construction Industry Hall of Fame will do justice to this debate. For us, the drivers of the Nigeria's Construction Industry Hall of Fame, we shall continue to follow the developments in our national lives and bring to the fore the importance of building homegrown capacity and encouraging the locals. Thank you and God bless you.
We want to say very big congratulations to all the inductees into the Nigeria's Construction Industry Hall of Fame for turning out in the numbers to actually receive that particular award. They were inducted, and many of them are the senior level professionals in the built environment, from engineering, architecture to town planning. You saw it all there. To builders, they were all at that event. In the subsequent edition of Inside Business, we'll bring you sound bites from that particular event and what the professionals are saying about engineering and economic prosperity of nations, including the fact that they were all happy to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. Well, I'm afraid that's about all we have time for on Inside Business Africa for today. I want to thank you again for watching, and indeed I would like to also inform you that the Construction and Engineering Digest Forum Award will be coming up on the 1st of December. Preparation and nomination is also going on for that particular edition, the 19th edition indeed. In other words, this particular platform has been on for 19 years, quite a long time indeed. And so also I'd like to say that Inside Business Africa is also 20, because it debuted in 1995. 25 on NTA, and indeed for 20 years this program has been consistent. It's been Kenneth Odrishola Stevenson presenting Inside Business Africa. I want to thank you again for watching. See you next week.